Hello everybody and welcome back to Tehillim Treasures, where every week in Mitzvah Shem we're going to learn 2 kapitles of Tehillim, get an idea of what's going on, what was David HaMelech talking about, and how we can relate to it. We are sponsored by 2 exceptional organizations every week. The first is Chazaq. Chazaq is an organization that has provided incredible Torah content, especially these last few years when we needed it, to be able to connect to the Rabbeinu Shalom, to better appreciate the Torah, to better appreciate our privilege to be the Am HaNivchar, the chosen nation. Additionally, Chazaq's main work is to help children that are in public schools go to yeshivas, and you can contact them if you know of a child that is in need of a yeshiva at PSTY public school to yeshiva at chazaq.org. Our second sponsor is chickensforshabbos.com, where every single week there are those families of Melamdim, Rebbeim's children, Rebbeim's wives, who do not have enough to put food on the table, for agunis, for women who are nebuch alone, for grushas, for women who are divorced and they don't have where to turn, and they need food and they need clothing, they need people to help them with utilities and so much more. Please be generous in your donation to chickensforshabbos.com. This week we will be learning the 25th and the 26th chapters of Tehillim. In the 25th chapter of Tehillim, David HaMelech begs Hashem for forgiveness for the Averis that he's done. And we have to remember that David HaMelech Averis are not the same as our Averis. David HaMelech's Averis are the Averis of a tzaddik. And tzaddikim nidoinin kechut hasayra, tzaddikim are judged with a magnifying glass. Hashem looks very carefully at their actions and judges them on a much higher standard. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Kol mi sha'amar David chayte eina elo toya. Anybody who says David HaMelech sinned is really making a grave mistake, because David HaMelech did not sin technically. He did things that might have looked like a sin. Perhaps it looked like it was a chilul Hashem, but David HaMelech did not sin. Nevertheless, he needs a kapara, he needs an atonement, because at his level, there should have been other actions done. And David HaMelech cries out, Elokai Rabbeinu Shalom, B'chava tachti, in you I have trusted. Alevoisha, don't let me be ashamed. Al yaltzu oivayli, don't let my enemies rejoice over my failings. Gam kol koivecha lo yevoishu, don't let anybody who hopes in you have any shame. Yevoishu haboigdim reikam, let those who betray you without cause, those people should be shamed. And the Medrash in Tehillim tells us a story that explains what's going on over here. One night there was a royal watchman, and the royal watchman seized a traveler, and he suspected him of performing a crime, and because of that he was going to bring him into prison. The intruder cries out to him. He says, what are you grabbing me for? I'm a member of the king's household. I'm not committing a crime. The next morning the prisoner is brought in front of the king, and the king says to him, my dear son, do you even know who I am? The prisoner responded he did not know who the king was. He says, but I place my trust in you, dear king, because if I did not claim to be under your protection, then I would have been beaten to death. And so I knew that if I call out and I say that I'm your son, then I'd be saved. The king listened to the man's words, and all of a sudden, his face became very, very soft. He was impressed by the fact that the fellow had placed his trust in him. That was enough of a reason for the king to pardon him. David begs Hashem for mercy. Why? Simply because Elokai v'chava tachti. The only reason, Hashem, that we ask for you to save us is because we're trusting in you. We're not trusting in anybody else, we're only trusting in you. We say every day in Oleinu, Ein oid, there is no one else for Rabbeinu Shalom. And Reb Chaim Vital says that at this point a person can insert his tefillah, have in mind whatever it is that you're davening for, and then say the next 6 words, Al Kain Nekav Elocha Hashem Elokeinu. That is why I am trusting in you, Hashem. And you should say it with hope, knowing that you're going to be answered. And you should beg Hashem to answer your tefillas. And Reb Chaim Vital says, Baduk umenusa, tried, true, and tested, you will be answered. Why? We have no one else to turn to, Hashem. Only in you we place our trust. And that's why we beg you to answer our tefillas. I'm an 8th grade Rebbe. And as an 8th grade Rebbe, one of my jobs is to help get the boys into yeshiva. And in Yeshiva Sner Yisrael, a lot of boys want to go. It's an excellent yeshiva. And unfortunately, not everybody's able to get into the yeshiva. There's only 25 slots from the yeshiva. And there's probably 50, 60 boys taking bechinas to get into Ner Yisrael. And it's very, very difficult. Well, when Rabbi Tendler, Zichreinu Livracha, when Rabbi Yosef Tendler was the menal of the high school, I once tried to get a boy in. And the boy was not necessarily the best boy in learning. And I was pretty sure that Rabbi Tendler was not going to take him. And the boy got in. So a few months later, I saw Rabbi Tendler and I said to him, can I ask you something? How did he get into, there were better boys in the class who you rejected. And you took this boy. And he told me an answer that has always stayed with me because I think it's very beautiful. Rabbi Tendler said, I asked the boy, why do you want to come to yeshiva? And he says, Rabbi Tendler, my father was a yosem, he was an orphan. And you took care of him like a father. Rabbi Tendler, I always heard about you. I look at you like you're my Zaidi. And I want to be near my Zaidi. I want to be near my grandfather. And Rabbi Tendler, who normally did not get mushy, he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes and he said, it was so beautiful. I had no choice but to say that yes, you're accepted. We tell the Rabbeinu Shalom, we trust in you. You're our Zaidi, and we know you're going to take care of us. And if we do that, He will. We now move on to the next kapitel of Tehillim, which is Perek Havav. And Perek Havav was written by David HaMelech. And David HaMelech wrote this kapitel, and he said 3 timeless words. And these words are words that so many people can live by. The 3 words are Va'ani Bisumi Eilech. I go in my innocence. I'm not a big chacham, I'm not a big pikeach, I don't have all the cheshbonis, I don't have all the calculations, I don't have all the merits. I'm coming to you as a pashut yid. I walk in my innocence, Hashem. I'm just coming as a pure pashut yid. When the Satan was trying to get Avram Avinu not to sacrifice his son Yitzchak, because he knew that if Avram goes to the Akedah, that's going to be a schus to Klal Yisrael, which we indeed do draw upon. He knew that that schus is going to last Klal Yisrael forever, and the Satan pulled out all the stops. And Avram Avinu, of course, we know, was Matzliach. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that Va'ani Besumi Eilech, that Avram Avinu just went with that image and that idea in mind. Hashem told me to do this. Va'ani Besumi Eilech. I'm going, even though I'm doing the greatest act in the history of Klal Yisrael, I'm going as a pashut yid. You go as a pashut yid, you are going to be answered by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In 1929, there were Nebuch, 69 men, women, and children from Hebron who were massacred by bloodthirsty, sword-wielding Arabs. What they did to them cannot be described in words, nor would it be able to be described on any other day except maybe Tisha B'Av. It would rip your heart out. Suffice it to say, it was a brutal, brutal day. And so many Yidden lost their lives. And their leader, the Rosh Hashiva, Reb Moshe Mordechai Epstein, was broken beyond measure. Reb Moshe Chevroni testified in the Hagdama of Shailas Tshuvas Levush Mordechai, which is the Tshuva Sefer from Reb Moshe Mordechai Epstein, that there was one pasuk that Reb Moshe Mordechai said over and over again that got him through this difficult tzara, and that was Va'ani Besumi Eilech. When you feel overwhelmed by the moment, when you feel like you can't go on, when you feel like the Nisayan, the test is just too big, then turn to Hashem and say, Va'ani besumi eilech. And this is a timeless 3-word tefillah. It was recited by David HaMelech, who heard the words or heard the Messiah of the words from Avraham Avinu. It was passed down from generation to generation. The Yidden in 1929 in Hebron recited Va'ani besumi eilech. The Yidden in the gas chambers walked as Pashidi Yidden to their own Akedah with Va'ani besumi eilech. Mothers taking children who did not know where they were going. Va'ani besumi eilech. And this is really the cry of a Pashidi Yid. We're all Pashidi Yid, and halavai we should be Pashidi Yid. We should remember that no matter what it is that's facing us, Va'ani besumi eilech, as long as we go with innocence, as long as we go to do the Ratzon of Hashem, we will be answered. Until next time, sei gesund.